ignored and thought less of by those who thought themselves too good to accept an invitation given by God. If you are reading this, basically, if you're listening to this and you have yet to accept Jesus as Lord of your life, do it now. Accept this invitation, not from me, but from God. I just want to share that. That to me just hit me. That was my devotions this morning. It hit me. I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful stuff. So I do a little piece every day. And if you want to join the list, you can send me an email. I'll post and if you want to get reading every day, I'll just send it to you. I'm going to put my email in the chat room. Just send me an email. Say you want to be added to the mailing list. I'm having fun doing this. Just had 2 more books published and devotionals. These are devotionals. And I'm in the process of having actually 4 more. They're going to be 2 volumes of Genesis and 2 volumes of Exodus. So we'll see where God's going. I'm kind of excited. We'll see. Now let's get into things. This is going to be an interesting start. I found this section kind of bizarre in the fact that, believe it or not, most of it kind of makes sense. Now I say that's bizarre because we're talking about Islam. Islam does not make sense a lot of times. But when you're talking about simple things like sales can make sense. And that's basically most of what we're talking about today. The concept of buying and selling. Sounds like pretty simple stuff, but it's what they hide in here that bothers me. And, I'm talking about trade, which is buying and selling. And the hidden element in here is Islamic supremacy. This is actually, I say it's hidden. You're going to see what I mean by this. There are certain things they hid in the Arabic that they don't want anybody to see in English. Oh, let's talk about slavery. Oh, that's not mentioned in English. I wonder why. So these are things we must be thinking about. All right, let's get going here. And again, we're starting book K. This is the new book. We finished the Hajj. We've finished a lot of work on that. We've done prayer. Now we're all the way up to book K, trade. All right, let's see. And Sharon, you were first in. So can you read K 1.0, please? This page. You know what? Actually, I'm going to have you do something different.
What?
I'd like you to read what's on the right, the Arabic translation that I got from Google.
Okay. The nature of the sale and its contract. The basis.
So hold on a second. Did you notice how it just says sale on the left?
Oh yeah, it's different.
So this is what I find really interesting. Today, we're mostly going to read what's on the right because I think this is rather revealing of what they're hiding today. So please continue.
Okay. The basis for it before consensus is verses such as his saying, God Almighty and God has made trade lawful. He said
at Surah 2:275.
Oh, okay. He said at the end, the words of our Imam, may Allah Most High be pleased with him, showed that this verse is general and covers every sale except for what the evidence indicates, as it forbade sales and did not clarify what is permissible, meaning that its lack of explanation indicates that the basic principle in selling is permissibility and the news. Like goodness, the prophet was asked which earning is better, and he said, work.
I sit here and I look at this. Okay, this doesn't exactly make sense, and at the same time it does. I mean, they're saying, if you look at this, they don't differentiate between seller and buyer very much here. And that's going to be a problem as we go on. And take a good look at this. It says that this verse is general, covers every sale. Okay. If we actually go and look at this verse, Surah 2:275, that's what it says. Darcy, could you read 275, please?
Yeah, sure. Those who devour the interest and will not stand, except like those whom Satan has beaten by his touch, will stand. This because they said, surely the selling is only like the interest. And Allah made the selling lawful and forbade the interest. So whenever whomever a sermon has come to him from his Lord, so he abstains. So to him what has passed, and his affair is to Allah. And whoever returns, so those are the companions of the fire, they will abide in it forever.
So they took this small piece. Allah made the selling lawful. Did you notice that they cut the rest of it? Allah has made the sale lawful. Why did they hide the rest and forbade the interest at this point? I mean, how do they separate the two? The word and means you have to talk about both. And right now they're only mentioning one thing. I find this interesting. I don't know what their purpose was in ignoring that, why they want to take such a little piece. I don't know. That just didn't make sense to me. All right. I'm going to ask you to continue reading the rest of this page, Sharon.
Me?
Yes.
The man is in his own hands, and every sale is justified, meaning there is no fraud. There is no betrayal in it. It was narrated by Al-Hakim and authenticated by him. The sale, in language, is the exchange of one thing for another, and legally, the exchange of money for money in a specific manner. And its pillars, as in total, are three, which are in the truth is a sunnah, and it is and blah, blah. Sorry about that. And it is a seller, buyer, and contract, price, and appraiser. And the formula is ijab and quabin.
Yeah, I have no idea. I tried to find that and I didn't get a chance to find it. Keep going.
Okay. Where the word sale is used as, it comes from the provisions as it includes a commodity exchange in financial currency and an exchange of commodity for commodity. Some of that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, so the only thing that got me, we talked about interest, financial currency, exchange of commodity for commodity. So it's an exchange of goods and exchange of currency. And this is where things get weird in this respect. It comes from provisions, commodity exchange. Just think about you're exchanging goods. I mean, is one good worth more than another? Probably. And they haven't gone into any real details. The only thing they're doing here, and it's funny, they mentioned a seller. You notice this: a seller, a buyer. You see on the left, they have the price, an article published, which is the contract. All right, the spoken offer, and in the spoken acceptance. So this is the price and the appraiser. All right, the spoken offer, the price. The appraiser would be, okay, I agree or disagree. Now, I found this interesting because some of these terms are problems in the long run. And you're going to see what I mean by that. On the left, it said lexically, a sale means to transact something for something else. Did you see that anywhere on the left? It says the sale in language is the exchange of one thing for another. I don't know if I can agree with that definition. Sale is something when you sell something for a price. That's a sale. It's not you can negotiate a price, but yeah, you can barter, you can do an exchange. Is it a sale when it's a trade? And that's debatable. But This is getting interesting. Remember, we're talking about desert people writing stuff like this, or was it desert people? Now you have to start asking questions. Where was this developed? Could it be Petra? And we're talking about hundreds of years after Mo. So, yeah, start asking these questions. Yes, Elizabeth, trade is between two traders is called bilateral trade, while trade, let me just put this up so everybody can see it. While trade involving more than two traders is called multilateral trade. I like that. She's right on it. Right on it. Letters of credit, paper money. Again, they don't have all the details here, but they're being, I mean, again, this is general. This is the beginning of their work. We're just starting. And let's see. I'm going to pick on Darcy one more time, and then I'm going to pick on Nicodemus. Okay. So, Darcy, could you read the right side? Where it's highlighted in red.
Offer and acceptance. 1.1, it is not valid except in the affirmative from the seller and acceptance from the buyer. The offer is the seller or his agent saying, I sold you or I owned you. And the acceptance is the buyer or his agent saying, I bought, I owned, or I accepted.
Hey, Darcy, what sounds bad about this? This is a translation from, yeah. I sold you or I owned you. We're talking about slavery here. Take a look on the left. Do you see anything in that first paragraph about slavery? Sales not valid there is spoken offer, spoken acceptance by the buyer. Offer means a statement of the seller or his agent. The offer is a seller or his agent. I sold you. There's nothing there about slavery, is there?
No. It sounds like I came, or I saw, I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yes. Now, on the left, you see where it says regarding muata. We talk about muta, all right? I looked this up to try and be as accurate as I could. Well, the muata that they're hiding is the word contract. Even in the Arabic translation, it was wrong to Google. Google had changed the word. And I found that fascinating. They changed the word. So I put it in brackets each time it appears because they were hiding this, even in the translation. So they're expecting people to translate this, but they don't want us to see what it actually is. And that was problematic. So, Darcy, can you read from PBUH?
As for the contract, which is paying the price and taking possession of the thing sold without uttering an offer or acceptance, such as if the price is a usual and known price, al-Bajuri said, al-Nawawi and a group chose the validity of the sale with it. That is, by contract, in everything that people consider a sale because the norm in it is based on looks like we're missing something there.
The consent. Go right to the consent.
No, before that. But anyway, the consent of the
that's I just forgot to put it in small letters. The in small letters.
That's fine. The consent of the contracting parties, and it has not been proven that there is a requirement for a word in which it is due to custom. It was quoted from a footnote.
Hey, you've heard of Shake Footnote? You remember that? That's all I could think of when I read this. You notice when I read this, take a look up on the left again. Do you see anything that says footnote? No, Ibn Footnote. Now I know where he got it. I've said it before, but Ibn Footnote gets his ideas from Sharia. Yeah. All right. Let's go back. It was quoted from a footnote.
Sheikh Ibrahim al-Bajuri, 355/1. It is permissible to precede the word buyer, such as to say, I bought for such and such, and he says, I sold to you. It is permissible for him to say, sell me for such and such, and he says, I sell it to you. These are straightforward and complicated. Oh, jeez.
Okay, they're contradictory. They don't know what. I think sometimes they say things just to be. Okay, is it straightforward or is it complicated? I don't think they know the I don't think they know the meaning of the words sometimes. So it's like he's selling himself. Sell me for such and such. Okay. You got to sit here and wonder what's going on here. This is what the Google Translate said. I mean, I didn't check with Usama, but this just makes me. Last time I talked to him about there are cultural problems with translation that Google does not catch. So maybe that's what this is, but it does make you wonder. I mean, Sheikh Ibn footnote is in here. It's permissible to precede the word buyer, such as to say, I bought for such and such, I sold to you. It's permissible for him to say, and over here on the page before, go up here, the offer is the seller of his agent. I sold you, or I owned you. That sounds like slavery. Look how they've changed this to make it more acceptable. And they're using the word muta, the base of it, all right, which is contract. All right. Why did they don't want to talk about muta? Is that what it is? They're afraid of it? I'm kind of like, wow. I mean, what's going on here that they're scared? I mean, we need to start thinking about this. Why are they trying to change the Arabic to make it more acceptable? Are they afraid Muslims who don't know Arabic might discover they're all into slavery? And oh my gosh, you might lose the whole nation of Islam. Gee, I think that's a good idea for Muslims to actually do what I do. It's simple. You hold up your phone and you use Google Translate and you'll get something like this. It should make you question really, who are they selling and buying? I owned you. I bought, I owned. And these are things that should make you think. And again, we're back here. I bought for such and such. I sold to you. It's from sell me for such and such. Again, we're talking about slavery. This is their market. This is the big thing they're talking about. Slavery, sell. Should be making us think. Why are they hiding this? I mean, it's not like we don't know they agree with slavery. Why did they change this to make it, quote, more acceptable? You see up here again, it gets the category of muta, all right? Consent of contracting parties. I'm just kind of mind numbed when I started looking at every time I see that word contract, they get into conducted by means of vending machines. I mean, there's nothing down here. There's no vending machines. And when they created Sharia, there were no vending machines. So what were they? Yeah.
My mind goes, sorry, as far as the vending machines go, I have an idea, and I could be way off with this, but I'm thinking about the whole red light district thing in some places in Europe where they have prostitutes that are like literally on display. So maybe it's kind of like that. And I'm thinking about the Hollywood movie, The Sheik. I think it's like 1921 movie where, again, the slave trade, and as we see in other movies, they're brought up and they're kind of put on display, and people take a look at the teeth and how good the teeth are and that kind of thing. So maybe vending machine is trying to describe that process.
Again, why hide? I think you're 100% right. And they've been using the word muta. Why are they hiding this? Because this is Sunni. Sharia. This is a Sunni school that this is written for, and they're mentioning muta. Oh, what happens if Muslims actually read this? Oh, it's bad enough us pagans are reading it, us infidels, us people who are very proud infidels are reading this and asking questions. Well, Muslims, you Sunni Muslims, please read this. Please look at the Arabic. We're asking you to do something because we consider it important for you to understand what's going on. I mean, take a look at this. This is just calling out, why are you hiding stuff in your own books? I'm just kind of, you got to sit there and wonder what's the purpose of hiding stuff from your own people. And that tells you, again, Islam is a Gnostic faith. Secret knowledge gets you secret places. Well, you can engage in slavery. You're fine if you're Muslim. That's what this is saying. Scary. All right. I'm going to pick on you. Nico, can you read this page, please?
Sure.
Just a red box. Yeah.
Okay. Also by metaphor with intention, such as take it for such and such, or I made it yours for such and such, and with that he intends to sell, and the buyer accepts. If he is not represented by the sale, then it is nothing. It is void. So the buyer must return it to its owner if he remains, or replace it if it gets damaged under his hand. Oy vey. I don't know what that means.
So the metaphor with intention, to me, I'm thinking he took something for like a test drive type thing. So you look at a car. I'm just going to pick on car because I just bought a car. All right, you take it for such and such. You made it yours. Maybe you stole it. And with the and with that, the guy intends to sell, and that buyer accepts. If he's not represented by the sale, then it's nothing. So he's made a deal somehow. This guy has test ownership, or some owner has the furniture or whatever it is in his possession. And all of a sudden, he doesn't want the sale. He returns the car or whatever it is, the furniture, whatever it is. Well, what happens if it's a car he just got in a bad accident? You better fix it, right? Take it out for a test drive and boom, you totaled the car. In 5 minutes, you drove out of the driveway and right into someone else's car. I can agree with this concept if that's what it means. The problem is it is so vague. We're going back to the con man language, which we find in the Quran. If he is not represented by the sale, then it is nothing. It is void. But so the buyer must return it to the owner if he remains. Replace it if it gets damaged under his hand. If that's, it makes sense in some way, but it's also very, very vague. And I can't trust, how they made stuff look on the left. There's problems with it. So I don't know. I do know that this goes farther, which again is interesting. Nico, I'm going to have you read just this page too.
Okay. There must be conditions for the validity of the contract of sale, including that of the separation between the offer and the acceptance. Should not be long in ethnicity. And the criterion of length is what I feel is turning away from acceptance other than a little. And among them is that they should not be interspersed with foreign talk about the contract from those who want to complete it, even if only a little, because there is turning away from acceptance. Among them is that they agree, that is, the offer and the acceptance and meaning. If he obliges with 1,000 correct words and proceeds half of it with 500, then the contract is not valid. and among them is the absence of a comment that is not required by it. In the world that I just read.
Did anybody get anything out of that? I think sometimes you hear about people who go out and do public speaking and they say much about nothing. That's about
Exactly.
where we're at. I've heard of people getting paid. They go up, they speak, and they walk away. They've made their money, and everybody's going, "What did he say?" You paid this guy, and nobody knows what he said. Oh my gosh! Yeah, something's wrong when you get to that point. I don't know. I mean, the conditions for validity of contracts, including that the separation should not be long. I think they're saying the contract should not be too long. It shouldn't be too wordy. If that's what they're saying, there shouldn't be foreign or hidden words in a contract. That's how I'm taking this. I agree with it. You shouldn't have hidden words in a contract. You shouldn't have very small print in a contract. Your purpose should not be with a contract to hide something from the buyer or the seller. I've seen people who have gone through that, been taken different ways. When you're stupid and you're young, you might co-sign for something, thinking that's a good thing, but in general, I advise against it. And I've got one of my kids upset with me for doing that. Like, sorry, you're on your own, kid. I don't co-sign. Yeah. So, yeah. This 1,000 correct words, and then if he proceeds half of it with 500, this makes no sense. Again, I think you're just worried about the contract being too wordy. The problem today is legalese. You sign a contract for your loan. You ever see how many pages that sucker is? I mean, yeah, buy a car, buy a house. That contract's pretty thick. And you sit there like, wow, I mean, every little detail is in there. That's a good thing, and it's a annoyingly boring thing as well. But according to this, you should negate it because it's long. Wow, let's see now. How many contracts would Muslims be allowed to follow if they're more than 1,000 words? Well, let's think about this. Your average paper is 8.5 by 11. And if we're using typed single-spaced, that's 500 words on the side. If it's double-sided, now we're talking about legal papers. That's, I believe, 8.5 by 13. I have to go back and look, or 9 by 13, something like that. It's bigger, it's longer, and you're running into, you might be close to hitting 1,000 words on one page, but because it's legalese, it might be slightly shorter, and you'll end up with, if you've got more than 1,500 words, well, I guess if we're following this, they're not signing very many contracts. But I don't, it says, again, it says not required, but sure should be making you think. I just have problems with this. Too wordy, way too wordy. Wow. Is this driving anybody else nuts? I just saw it as wordy stuff. All right. Well,
yeah. It just feels like they're empowering just a thought. And it feels like they're, kind of like lawyer speak. They're just empowering those in authority to just interpret things the way they want. It almost feels that way. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw. On the left, they're just, what Usama continually tells me is they're trying to make things look pretty in English. And if you look at the right, you really see they're trying to make this look pretty. They're trying to organize it on the left. Okay, so it looks pretty. On the right, it's a mess.
So they're trying to be educated, as mass media goes.
Yes, yeah. They're trying to make something ugly look pretty. That's exactly what it is. All right. Back to you, Sharon. Can you read this one, please?
The contract and a lack of follow-up. So if he said, if my father dies, then I sold this to you or banked him for a month, it would not be valid because the first included a comment and the second seems like they missed a part of the sentence. Okay. On timing, and both of them contradict the intention. The sign of the mute is like the speech of the speaker.
Really? The sign of the mute? Oh, wait. They're saying sign language is like a speaker. Oh. Well, if you're mute, okay, I get that. That kind of makes sense. So you can make a contract with a mute guy if you can figure out his sign language. All right, that makes sense. The contract and lack of follow-up. So if my father dies, then I sold this to you or banked him for a month, would not be valid. Okay, this part. If you made an agreement, I'll sell it to you. Should my father die? Is that what it says over here on the left? And the sale's not subject to time stipulations. I'll sell it to you for a period of 1 month. That's renting, guys. Selling, it's not selling, you're renting, and that maybe he doesn't know the definition. It's banked him for a month. I mean, it sounds like they're renting something or making a deal of sale that only lasts a month. I'm not sure what their real intention is here. It sounds like renting. I'll sell it to you for a month, bring it back, I get to sell it again. That is renting. Do they not have a word for that back? Oh, well, maybe the issue is that the guy who wrote this didn't know enough Arabic to know the word for rent. I don't know. The Quran was written by somebody who I believe didn't know Arabic well, but kind of surprising when we get to this. And these are supposed to be the legal scholars. You'd think they'd know the word for rent. Maybe it wasn't developed yet. I don't know. All right. We're on to the buyer and the seller. Now take a look over on the right. The two sellers is what it says, not the buyer and the seller. That made me laugh. Notice K1.2. See how long it is? A, B, C, D. And what I did was I took all that Arabic there. It got split. This is all of what it says for this section that's on your screen. So if we were to go through and cross out a lot of stuff, all the stuff in parentheses, all right? See all this stuff that get rid of? Be a lot shorter. From here, all from D would mostly be gone. But take a look on J. We're on K1.2. The condition for the parties to the transaction is maturity. Ooh, having reached puberty. That's what they're defining that as in English. Sound mind. Sanity. Okay. Freedom from slavery. Do you see that over here? Oh, so you can't be a slave. Why are they hiding this? All right. Unjust coercion. Interdiction has to do with being stopped. Unjust coercion. Okay, we're over here. One, not be unjustly forced to make a sale. That one's disposal over one's property not be suspended. That's this interdiction. Somebody doesn't stop a sale. All right, that's this. Why did they leave out freedom from slavery? You can't be selling stuff. Here it is. It's not valid to make a contract under duress to sell his property unlawfully due to his lack of consent. But can you sell something if you're a slave? The question is, can you own anything if you're a slave? Because if you're selling something, if you're a slave, unless you're selling something for your master, the answer is no, because you don't own anything in this respect. You are the property. Does property own something? And that's what this is getting at. Now, that one got me. This, again, this concept, they're hiding this, constantly hiding this. You don't see it over here either. Why hide this? Islam loves slavery. Now, this I found interesting, and let's do this. Let's read the left first, and let's see. Darcy, can you read the left side first?
Give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay. It is. If the
Or read the left
Quran,
side. Read the
letter,
yeah, you got it. Good. Yeah, I'm sorry.
if the Quran is being purchased for someone, it is obligatory that the person be Muslim. Example, the same is true of books of hadith and books containing the words and deeds of the early Muslims. Quran in this context means any work that contains some of the Quran, even a slight amount. Yea, this ruling holds for any religious books, even the Tahakat of Sharani, collection of biographical sketches of Muslims. Though the Hanafi school permits non-Muslims to buy or be given the Quran and other Islamic books. And F, it is a condition that someone buying weapons be of a people that are not at war with Muslims.
This is going to get interesting. Well, now look on when I put E up there, but take a look on the right. It's valid if it is his money to pay off his debt. Indeed, he was directed to sell. Islam is also a condition for the one for whom a copy of the Quran is bought. Okay. So you must be Muslim. Isn't that's what they're saying? You must be Muslim. All right. And like the Quran, are books of hadiths or hadiths. Oh, we find this in the Quran. It's something that most Muslims do not truly know. The Quran is a hadith. Oh, the Quran is a book of hadiths. They're a book of sayings. Is this insulting to Islam? Why is it okay in Arabic, but you really don't put it there in English? Do they want Muslims, English-speaking Muslims, to be ignorant? What is so scary about this, that they can't share these facts? This kind of is mind-numbing to me. Why is this so offensive that the Arabic hurts Muslims? I mean, that they don't want them to know. Then it says the traces of predecessors were written in it. And what is meant by the Quran is that which contains the Quran, even if it is a little or a Muslim who cannot be freed. So if we go by this rule, you can your Sharia book, Reliance the Traveler, can now be considered a Quran. Your hadiths, if they contain a small portion of scripture, can now be considered a Quran. If you have a history textbook that has one verse of the Quran in it, oh, that can now be considered a Quran. This is going to be problemsome. And it goes all over the place where this could mean. You have a rug, and on it there is a verse from the Quran. Oh, that's now a Quran. Okay. You have a mosque. It's a building, and on it is a verse of the Quran. Oh, well, that's now a Quran? Really? I mean, a masjid is now a Quran? Okay. I don't think they thought this through when they wrote it. Now, take a quick look at this next paragraph. It's section F, it's F here. And there should be no hostility in buying weapons as the permission of the master. The adult slave to trade is dispersed according to the permission. Wait a minute. Oh, no hostility in buying weapons. As the permission of the master, the adult slave to trade is dispersed. Wait a minute. Anybody see anything there? A number F, a letter F there, is a condition that someone buying weapons of a people who are not at war with Muslims. Can this slave buy weapons? But with the permission of the master. did they say anything about people who are at war here? Oh, let's go down. Let's look at the next paragraph. It is not permissible for anyone to treat a slave unless he knows that his master has given permission to do so, or the master does not accept the word of a slave. Why are they hiding slavery? Do they think the English people are stupid and they can't translate using technology? Yes. Darura. Yeah.
Know what that boils down to is they are trying to keep their own people slavery or enslaved.
Yes.
Because they're not allowing them to read their own books or question.
Why hide it? I mean, that's the part I don't get. Why hide slavery? I mean, if you endorse it in the Quran, you endorse it in the Hadith, and you do endorse it in Sharia, why hide this? All this is, I mean, we've been reading, this is supposed to be a book about trade. What we're reading is their concept of trade has a lot to do with slavery. And they don't want you to know that.
I was wondering something. Now, most of the Muslims don't read their stuff unless it's in Arabic. This reliance of the traveler, is it mostly for us, non-Muslims? And
No.
most non-Muslims, I'm going to tell you the truth, I know I didn't do it, don't really translate it accurately like you've done.
Well, I'm just using Google Translate.
I know, but most people won't do that, so they won't know this.
And that's the point. I'm saying most Muslims won't do it, and I'm doing it specifically because working with Usama, I realize how bad the translations are.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing this and I'm finding all this stuff has to do with slavery, what is? I mean, I look at Dr. Lloyd, his work, and I'm just kind of mind numbed. I mean, Dr. Lloyd De Jong is the one who highlighted this stuff on the left, and I never thought I would see what I'm seeing. I mean, he didn't say that, he had I think he had a little note on the side, and I missed what it was really going at. But this is something that we should be extremely concerned if they are hiding. Now, this was written. Listen, I actually have. I was at a mosque. Eric was there, and that guy who we were in Cleveland, and he said, he came out and told everybody it was his grandfather's mosque, and he kind of inherited his job. Afterwards, I said to him, I thought you were supposed to know Sharia to become an imam. And he repeated the whole verse that it was word for word Sharia about how you become an imam. He said that verbatim to me right back. It was rote memorization. You could hear it. And I'm like, wow. So he memorized a lot of Sharia. It makes me wonder. I mean, because now I'm looking at this. I know he doesn't know Arabic. Would he know that? Oh, by the way, it was an NOI mosque we were at, Eric. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that was an NOI mosque, Nation of Islam mosque. So it explains a lot. They had Sunnis there. They had Shiites there. They didn't know what they were, but they were openly saying they were Sunni. It explains some stuff, but this should be making us think again. This is why hide the slavery? Well, you might lose all of the.
I'm like calling us Satan when we were waiting around out front.
Yeah, that woman out there she was evil. She was evil. That woman was scary. When you see somebody, we'll have to talk more about that later. But yeah, the stuff we met in Cleveland was surprising. And the guy, I'll say this: the imam seemed to be a nice guy. A little deluded, because I don't think he knows who Muhammad is. I don't think anybody there really knew who Muhammad was if they're accepting his teaching. That's a scary thought. If you don't know enough about, I mean, he doesn't know the Quran very well. I know that. I think I know more than him, which is bad. And I've only been studying a little while. And he's been running this mosque for 35 years, I think. Yeah. It should make people think, or it's like 20 years or something like that. It's just scary. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see what else they're going to try and hide. All right, this one we're going to read on the left, and let's see. Who's up? Nico. Okay. Nico, can you read K 1.3, please?
Okay. The option to cancel a sale at the time of the agreement. When a sale is effected, both buyer and seller have the option to cancel at the time of the agreement, meaning the right to nullify the agreement at any time before they part company physically, or both waive the right to cancel, or until one of them cancels the sale. Okay. The option.
I did not put this into English, so let me just read what it says in Arabic according to this. It says counsel option. Don't ask me why it says that, but that the contract of sale is concluded. The option of the counsel is confirmed for both the seller and the buyer unless they are separated. I mean, do you see that on the left there? Unless they're separated. Nullify the agreement at any point. Or this is just kind of weird when I'm looking at it. All right. It says they chose to buy, or they both chose to sign. They chose to bind the contract and not cancel it, or one of them declares it counsel's choice. I kind of get this part. You've signed the contract, and you're both looking at it, and one of you decides, I really don't want to do this. I know I signed it. Are you okay with me tearing this up? Well, do you really want to do some business with someone who doesn't want to do business with you? And if you agree to tear it up, will you be doing better business with each other? Probably. If you allow that. So if I accept what's stated here in English, chances are you might come back and try to work with this guy who would accept you ending the agreement. It just makes a little bit of sense there. I'm not saying it's great, but it's like you go test drive a car. You decide you don't want it. You don't pay the guy anything. You haven't put any money down. As long as you haven't put any money down is what it's coming down to. You haven't put anything down. You haven't invested anything yet. I think that works. Once you start investing, that's where you run into trouble. And yeah, I'm not sure that this is a simple thing. Anybody else have thoughts on this?
I'm still getting more and more confused. I do have a question for you, though, in general. Like, do we know, as far as the English translation on the left, when was that stuff written? Like the question earlier, is it written for us? When was this stuff written?
This was written. I don't have my book in my house right now. It's out in my car. But I think the translation was done in the 90s. I'll go back and double check it.
Okay.
Reliance the Traveler. If you pick up Reliance the Traveler, it's in the beginning. What kills me is all the statements that this is a fairly accurate translation. It's one of the better translations, they claim, and yet they hide so much. This is why, again, if I hadn't been working with Usama, I wouldn't know enough about the hypocrisy of their statements, about their hiding stuff. I just wouldn't have a clue.
I got the book.
You do?
It says published in 1991.
Yeah.
Revised edition in 1994. And then they have a whole bunch of reprinted dates.
Okay.
So I'm going to, since you've got yours open, I'm going to be bugging you a little bit because there's a section coming up, and I haven't gone out to my car to grab my book yet, but there's a section coming up I want to pull out, and it's going to be in the section W. So if you want to run all the way to W when we get there.
Oh God. Okay. Do you remember the number? 'Cause there's a whole bunch of W's.
It'll be on the screen a little while. We're
Okay.
almost there.
There's a whole bunch
All right,
of W's.
Yeah, I know. And W, by the way, if you don't know, W is the notes section. So that's kind of says something. And at this point, I just didn't have enough time I was just finishing getting everything ready, stipulating an option to cancel period. Both the buyer and seller have the right to stipulate an option to cancel period, an interval during which either party may cancel. Okay, we kind of just said this, right? Are we repeating ourselves? Up to 3 days. So you have this is my problem with this. Okay, you have an agreement, you have up to 3 days to cancel. It should be written into the contract. If it's not written in the contract, too bad for you. All right. This is something that I think if you're having a grace period where you can cancel and it's written in the contract, great. But let's say you start a contract, somebody starts doing 3 days worth of work. You cancel the contract. Does that mean you don't pay them for 3 days? For the 3 days worth of work? That's a problem. So I don't think this covers a lot of things. I mean, I know people, when you sign a contract, they go right to work. I have a friend who takes down trees. He does a lot of incredible work with trees. If you signed a contract with him and he went to work the next day and started taking down that tree, by the time the 3 days were up and you were allowed to cancel the contract and his work is done, we have a problem. Yeah. What is he supposed to do? Go put the tree back up? It's not going to happen.
And again, I love how there's maybe, I'm guessing here, maybe 3 or 4 sentences on the right in Arabic, and on the left, the translation is like 3 or 4 paragraphs.
Yeah. I mean, I can do this pretty quick and take a look on it in English, but the translation, which here we go. I'll just read it to you. Again, this is my fault for not. Yeah. And again, they call it option condition. The buyer should have a condition option. Again, if you wrote it into a contract, great. If you didn't, too bad for you. In the sale, 3 days or less. This is almost word for word, by the way. Only the thing they add in here is there's no interest. You're not supposed to be putting, conditions. All right, here's a part in here. You're not supposed to be doing deals with. There's a special deal in here about foreigners. I think I skipped that part. Option to cancel may be given. Skipping down, but such a period may not be stipulated for transactions in which it is unlawful to part company before taking possession of the commodities, as is the case of exchanging kinds of. Yeah, they left out this stuff. So again, foreigners. So these are very ethnic supremacists. They believe Arabs are supreme. Keep understanding that. So one of the things they say here, the other and for a foreigner, because the need may call for that. And in any case, there is no point in bringing them together unless the contract is one in which it is forbidden to separate the item taking possession of. And again, they start talking about interest when they talk about usury. And they're against, anything that gains interest or gives interest. So it's a small piece, and again, I apologize for not putting the things up. I was going through this a little bit quick, trying to get everything ready. K 1.5. Let's see, Darcy, could you please read K 1.5?
Sure. If the option to cancel is given to the seller alone, then the merchandise is considered his property during this period, meaning that he owns the proceeds earned by the property and its increments, such as its milk, eggs, or fruit, and he is obliged to cover its maintenance and other expenses. If the option to cancel is given to the buyer alone, then the merchandise is considered his property during this period, and the above increments and expenses are his. If the option to cancel is given to both buyer and seller, then the ownership of the merchandise during this period is suspended, meaning that if the transaction is finalized, it is established that it belonged to the buyer from the time the agreement was first made, together with its increments and expenses. But if the transaction is canceled, it is established that it belonged to the seller, meaning that it never left his ownership.
So this is really confusing to say. Basically, one thing: if you, what do they say? Possession is 9/10 of the law. Isn't that kind of what they're saying? If you still have hold of it after 3 days, it's yours. Isn't that kind of what they're saying? Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Wow.
I mean, all these words basically say that. That's I don't know if that's where you are, Nico, but that's an American saying. Possession is 9/10 of the law.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, as far as whether that's a Greek adage, but yeah, it just makes me think of like a little kid running around going, "That's mine, that's mine, that's mine," just grabbing everything, making claim. Yeah, it's not mine. It's in my hands.
I didn't sell it to you yet. I'm canceling my sale. Okay, you got to give the money back first. All right. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Very carnal.
Yes. Mine. It is like a little kid. You're right. Very selfish. Islamic supremacist. Yes. This is going to get interesting. Sharon, can you read this, please? I went through this, by the way. It was almost word for word, and it kind of made me laugh.
Now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The things exchanged in a transaction. Things here refers to both the merchandise and its price. K2.1. 5 conditions must exist in any article transacted. It must: A, be pure in itself, or if affected by filth, it must be capable of being purified by washing. B, be useful. C, be deliverable by the seller to the buyer, meaning that the buyer is able to take possession of it. D, be the property of the seller or the person whom the seller has been authorized to represent. E, and be determinately known to the buyer and seller as to which particular thing it is, how much it is, and what kind it is, in order to protect against chance or risk, because of the hadith related by Muslim that the Prophet forbade the transaction of whatever involves chance or risk. Discusses buying and selling insurance.
Okay, what I would like you, if you could go to W42.
Oh, W42.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to go back to. All right, so take a look. This is almost word for word on the right here. The 5 conditions: whatever you're selling must be pure. All right.
Oh, there's a whole bunch.
Don't sell what Muhammad considers pure water. Please don't sell what Muhammad considers pure water. Sharia doesn't accept Muhammad's idea of pure water. So you would be overruled, just like Sharia overrules Muhammad. It's supposed to be useful. Okay, are knickknacks useful?
Well, it depends on the buyer, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, it depends on who you ask.
Collectibles, are they useful? I mean, if you want to earn money eventually, I don't know. Useful. Be deliverable. I mean, are there things services, I don't know. I don't think they understood the concept of service industry. Like, you can say it's deliverable, but it's abstract, so this is a little bit problem. Be the property or seller of the person whom the seller has authorized. That kind of says you can have an agent to sell something. All right. Be determinedly known. And this is a very, very funny piece. I wanted to look at W-42. Discusses by selling selling insurance policies. Now, they're going to be against usury, right? Do you see stuff on that against interest for W-42?
Oh, there's like a page of it, and it's small print. Um, Hold on.
All
This
right.
might take a while for me to read through. Oh, the first one. In addition to the fact that they are usurious, buying and selling insurance policies are unlawful because of profits prohibition of sales in which there is a chance or risk. Muslims relates from Abu Huraira that um, prohibited the sales of whatever a pebble thrown by the seller hits, and sales in which there is a chance or risk. Some of this doesn't make sense to me. When I read it,
Well,
it says
they're saying if there's a chance or a risk. So
yeah.
let me
Okay.
say that. Let's put it real simple. You get in your car. You just bought a car. You drive again. I just bought a car, so I'm thinking about all these things. You just bought a car. What happens when you drive it off the lot? What happens to the value of your car when you drive it off the lot?
It decreases.
Like 5 grand, 10 grand, something like that, right?
Yeah.
It just goes down. All right. So something to think about. Did you lose money in interest? Somewhat. They say not to, I mean, there's a risk. Oh, okay, there's a risk. What's the concept of life insurance? Are you paying interest? Here's the interesting thing about this interest thing with banks. Do you know what? If you use Sharia finance, you know what it does? It increases banking fees. Oh, might not have interest, but you have a whole lot more banking fees. Do you gain money putting it in savings accounts? No. You just have banking fees.
Hey, let me ask you a question. So these Muslims that are buying cars, they might buy insurance to begin with, but then do they cancel it because it's forbidden in Sharia?
They can't because they have to follow the law of the land as part of Darura. So they're following one of the rules about following the law of the land. Now, this is problematic, and I will see if I can pull that right up just a second. Let me pull this up. I did something recently. I'm just waiting for this to pop up, and I'll point out what I'm talking about in a minute. I had some fun doing a men's conference, and I showed this slide. This one. You see the Darura that's starred there?
Yeah.
I think we deal more. People say they'll use the word takia, and I was guilty of using that word too much. I think more of what we're running into is Darura, deceit through necessity, maruna, blending in, okay? To engage in something haram or forbidden as deceit through necessity. Muruna, blending in the temporary suspension of Sharia in order that Muslim immigrants appear moderate. You're going to see this stuff all the time. Now, this is the thing. Will they buy something to blend in to appear more moderate? You can buy Sharia type insurance, which does not have any interest involved in it. So it actually has higher fees and costs more. That's the funny thing about this. It costs more. So are they making a better deal? Absolutely not. They're paying a higher fee. So the difference is I can go in. This is one of the things I like. If I go like I pay for my car insurance all at one time, I get a better deal. Does the guy who is a Muslim, when he pays it all up front, does he get a better deal? Well, that's a good question. Because there's no interest involved. Will he get a better deal? Probably the answer is no. sort of the idea of interest actually benefits the seller and the buyer. People forget this. So they think it's a good deal when you don't. It's just like when you take a loan out. You have good credit, you get less interest. Yeah, I think that's sometimes they charge extremely high interest if you're the high risk. Well, you pay the price if you want it, and you have high if you have bad credit and you haven't proven yourself. I kind of get it, and I kind of don't. I was just talking to a neighbor about something that was offered to her and says if you miss a payment, you're paying 35% interest. Like what? Yeah.
Hey, you know, in that W-24, there's actually a part in there about the car insurance. You want me? And it's not really long. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. When one needs a car in a country whose laws force one to have car liability insurance, buying the insurance has effectively become a tax and is the moral responsibility of the lawmakers, not the person forced to comply. That
Wow.
tells me they don't have to buy it or they can drop it. Don't get into
That's quite a statement. I agree with what you're hearing there. It's kind of you do what you have to do to get by. Because in this country, if you get caught without insurance, most likely you are going to have the car taken away from you if you get pulled over.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a lot of good police car shows where they pull over someone and they find out they don't have insurance. Well, guess what? You're not going home today in that car. No. Some of this stuff you just sit there and go, why? What were they thinking? All right, Sharon, can you do this purity part too?
Okay. It is invalid to transact something that is impure in itself, such as a dog or something affected with filth that cannot be purified by washing, like milk or shortening, though if it can be, like a garment, then it may be transacted.
So you can't sell a dog.
Well, I'm not going to
Uh,
sell my dog. My dog is my baby.
oh, the dog is so impure. I think we need to take walks with dogs certain places. Maybe no. Let's if they're that impure, let's make sure they're black and take certain walks near certain areas. Maybe that'll help slow things down. I don't know.
I'm going to tell you, I got a couple of stories about
Huh.
me taking a dog for a walk, but I'm not going to get into it. And Muslim, you wouldn't believe it.
Ask them if they'd like to buy a dog. That might be the next thing. Would you like to buy? That's maybe we'll have to try that in one of those pages that where there's debates. Any Muslims want to buy a dog? Yeah. It says here you can't. It says you can't make a transaction, so you can't buy and you can't sell. So it's not just sell. It's something impure. Okay, you can't buy water that Muhammad would call pure. Thank God you can't buy water Muhammad would call pure. Oh, praise God, you can't. Oh, it's just so disgusting to think about. If you're buying anything Muhammad called pure, ugh. Not his concept of water. I wouldn't. No, I think I'd be vomiting all the time. I'd be sick. Know what? I think the closest thing to Muhammad calling something pure was the Seine River in Paris that the Olympians were told to swim in and got out and vomited numerous times. And they were told it was a safe river now because they had money, billions of dollars to clean up the river from the Olympic Committee so they could swim in it. Yeah. Hundreds of years of chemicals and things being poured in there and dumping and whatever. Yeah. I hope that those people are safe after going through that. This is just, this is disgusting. Muhammad said it would be, water is always pure, but again, Sharia overruled Muhammad, so Muhammad can't be a prophet. He got overruled. He got abrogated. I think that's funny. All right. Let's see. Nico, can you read K 2.3, please?
Okay. It is invalid to transact something which is not useful, whether the reason is for invalidity, is the article's baseness, or the smallness of the amount being dealt with, such as vermin, a single grain of wheat, or unlawful musical instruments, such as the mandolin or flute, since there is no lawful benefit in them. Yeah, I'm trying not to laugh.
Okay. I am the son of a musician. I sing. I don't play instruments much anymore, but my sisters are extremely talented musicians. Yeah. I just want to get back to the part with usefulness.
I want
All
to
right.
jump in here real quick. I have
Please
actually
do.
been watching not Islamic but Arabic form of dancing with music called the dabki or dabki,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting. You know, but why are they trying to hide that part of their history?
Hmm. So, don't they use the clarinet for that music? I mean, I guess the flute is.
Flute and
Well,
drums.
it's they only allow drums. So,
So
and this is going to get interesting.
in there
They
because I
are.
hear
They would call this the period of. They call dancing. Many Muslims can refer to dancing as something prostitutes do. And we just read a news story last week where the accusation was a certain school taught girls to dance, and they were saying, "Don't send your girls here because they'll learn how to be prostitutes because they're learning how to dance." Like what?
well, that would actually make the men doing the dances male prostitutes. So
And that's they would
way.
agree with that part too. So, are you teaching the men, the boys, to be yeah, pearls? Yeah, kind of gross. You know what kills me with this one? That they say there's no usefulness for mice or selling a grain of wheat, or I mean, the fact that they consider musical instruments, they're saying they're unlawful, so they're useless. They don't have any usefulness. All I can say is my thought is it could be that because it's thought that Muhammad may have had temporal lobe seizures, he could have actually experienced seizures being around people who play music. That's a possibility if he had temporal lobe seizures, that some tones may cause him to have them. So that may be one of the thought processes behind that. Uh, you don't hear about people selling mice except for maybe as pets. So they wouldn't even let you sell pets. Grains of wheat. They're talking about a single grain of wheat. I think if you're going to, that's the only one I'm going to agree with them on. There's no reason for you to sell a single grain of wheat. Give it to somebody. I'll give them that one thing. And there's no reason for you to be that cheap that you can't give a single grain of wheat away. Now, am I talking about you giving 100 million grains of wheat away? No. 100 million single pieces of grain away? No. And it's just kind of weird. All right, let's keep going. We're almost done to this section. Deliverability. We're on to who? Let's see, Sharon, you read. Everybody's read. Okay, I'm going to read this one then. It is invalid. Deliverability. It's invalid to transact something undeliverable. Now, start thinking about this. My concept of something undeliverable is totally different than Sharia's concept. Undeliverable, such as a bird on the wing or something that a third party has wrongfully taken from one, though if one sells the latter to a buyer who is able to take it back from the third party and the sale is valid, while the buyer is unable to take it from him, the buyer has the option to either declare the sale binding or cancel it. Undeliverable? And they're talking about a bird on the wing. What is a bird on the wing? I mean, we're waiting for a baby to be born. A bird on the wing? It is invalid to transact a particular half of a whole object, such as a vessel, a sword, or a garment. So half of the whole. Yeah, I'd have a problem with that. Well, if you're buying something together with someone else, maybe that's what they're referring to. Half a sword. I'm buying half a sword. You're buying the other half of the sword. We get to use it together, right? Well, if you use one sword and you take turns protecting each other, yeah. You got women who are sisters and they're buying a garment together. They're both going to wear it, take turns wearing it. I don't know. I don't know what they're saying. It's not useful. Okay. Or part of anything whose value is diminished by cutting or breaking, though it does not diminish its value, as with a bolt of heavy cloth, such portions may be sold. This is just kind of crazy. Deliverability. If you have something undeliverable, what do you think could be undeliverable? Anybody? Even services are deliverable. So if you think about it, you go to the restaurant, you sit down, the server comes over, and she renders the service of taking your order and delivering your food. Did she provide something deliverable? Absolutely. In this country, in the United States, how do you treat your server if she did an excellent job? In this country, you tip your server. And that's one of the proposals Donald Trump has made, is that tips should no longer be taxable. They should be treated as gifts. So, the way around it used to be to write a note saying, this is a gift, it's not a tip. Well, the IRS tax code recognized that a few years ago when they started taxing gifts. So, yeah. This is just kind of wordy deliverability. Something, almost everything people do is deliverable. Services are deliverable. You can measure their quality. Sales is deliverable. You can measure its quality. I went to a restaurant. I was served rather quickly. Quality of the food was good. I think something that's deliverable, if you get something deliverable that's not measurable in quality or anything, that may be where you start wondering if you agree with this. But I don't know. Something you can't deliver. How about this? What a certificate of purchase of a star. Is that considered something deliverable? That's where I'd probably start coming close to agreeing with them. Really, can you own a star? Supposedly you can. We'll see. All right. Back to you, Sharon. K2.5.
Okay. It is not valid for the owner of an article that has been put up as collateral to sell it without permission of the person to whom the collateral has been given. Nor is it valid to sell property belonging to another unless the seller is the owner's guardian or authorized representative. Well, that makes sense.
Well, we ran into something that makes sense. We don't do that very often.
I'm in shock. Hold on.
All right. Somebody gave me some. I was like, okay, hold on to this. I'm gonna give you something in exchange for something else. I'll give, when I deliver this back, you can give me that back, that thing. Yeah. I think that's an excellent idea. Cannot believe I agree with something. But we do find something just about every week. We find something we kind of agree with, but this actually is the use of common sense. You shouldn't sell something that doesn't belong to you. Oh, we call that theft. What do they do in Chop Chop Square when you get caught stealing. They cut off your hand. Oh, really? Yeah, sold something without permission. That's theft. What do? Cut that hand off. All right. And Darcy, K 2.6.
Being determinately known, it is not valid to sell property not determinately identified as such as one of these two garments, since one of them is not an identification. Likewise with saying, I sell you one of the sheep. It makes no difference whether all the objects are of equal or unequal value. It is not
Do you agree
valid.
with that concept, by the way? That it should be defined what you're buying?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't go into, I mean, I'm going to pick on the women here because I can just imagine you go into a store and they pick out, you've already picked out this pair of shoes. You like this pair of shoes. And you go home, they boxed it up for you, and you find they gave you a different pair of shoes. Are you happy?
No.
Oh my gosh, I could just see. Yeah. I don't even want to. We call that bait and switch here. It's illegal in the United States. Not knowing, this is a game that used to be played all the time by retailers, saying they're selling you one thing and then sell you another.
That's actually still going on because the Chinese are in control of that. You order something on Amazon, you don't always get what you order.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't had that problem yet, but yeah, that makes sense.
Nothing against the Chinese, but still, it's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm biting
All
my
right, can you
tongue.
I've never had that
Yeah.
problem.
So what have you run into, Nico? I see you're biting your tongue.
All right. Yeah, I've worked with the Chinese for years, and I'm learning a lot. One of the things is the expression "dirty water." Like some of them have this thing that they know they're selling, quote, "dirty water," end quote, to the West, as they're selling bad products to us, and they're kind of having a good laugh about it. They even have a label for it. So there you go. Yeah. Just so everyone knows, yeah. I'm trying to bite my tongue. That's all I'll say about that. Let's not get off the topic.
Interesting stuff. All right. So Darcy, can you continue? It is not valid from there.
Yeah. It is not valid to transact a particular thing that is not in view, which is what I was just talking about, meaning that it has not been seen by both buyer and seller, or by one of them, such as saying, I saw you the Mervian robe I have up my sleeve, or the black horse that is in my stable. But if the buyer has seen it before, and the article is something that does not generally change within the time that has elapsed since it was last seen, then such sales are valid. It is permissible to sell something like a pile of wheat that is in plain view when its weight is unknown, or to sell something for a heap of silver that is visible when the silver's weight is unknown, for seeing is sufficient.
So this is funny. This pulls out the statement, their definition of a witness. If you can see something, you can say you're a witness. If you can't see something, you can't say you're a witness. So please, Muslims, please explain how you say the Shahada. I bear witness that, wait a minute, you can't see him, you can't taste him, you can't hear him, you can't touch him. How do you bear witness that Allah or Muhammad? How do you bear witness of it? You can't. So, yeah. Just like this transaction, it's only good if you get to see what you're buying. I kind of agree with that, and I think Darcy and Sharon are all in on this, right?
Correct. Yep.
Hello.
I look at something online and I want to buy it. They send me something else, I'm probably shipping it right back.
It's like I said, in Amazon, I've never had that problem. I mean, I'm not saying that it isn't a problem, but I haven't had it yet.
I haven't had that yet. Yeah, that's me. I buy a lot of books and things, but I have not yet had that problem here.
Yeah.
But I think that's your local Amazon distributor, whoever that would be. But when you run into that more than once, I'd pay my personal thought is I would pay a visit and ask to talk to a supervisor there. Just go to the place and start asking, who's pulling stuff? Who's your picker? What's going on here from my area? Can you tell the picker he doesn't have to be an idiot? I mean, yeah.
Since we're back on the topic, can I revisit that? Just add one more thing about what I said.
Sure.
Yeah, because all right. So I just also want to kind of comment on the idea that the Chinese are against Islam. I'm not, again, I'm no expert in what's going on in China, but in my experiences and what I've seen, and I've been working with them for years in education, different programs through different companies. They have no problems promoting pagan ideologies like Hinduism, of course, Buddhism, and even Islam. They don't allow any discussion at all about Christianity. They will celebrate Christmas, but they celebrate Christmas as an Xmas, like Santa Claus and Christmas tree and gifts, but nothing about, you can't speak about Jesus Christ. So now I'm not saying, I'm sure that they arrest Muslims, but I think there's a difference between arresting people and oppressing people versus pushing a certain ideology that all happen to be anti-Christian. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there. I think they have good reason to not trust the Muslims. They're scared of the ideology of Christianity because the ideology of Christianity believes in the concept of freedom, which totally opposes the concepts of communism, which would call for a revolt eventually. The more people become Christian, the more the concept of freedom exists. So that becomes a problem. And I think that's where they get scared. But with Islam, you have more of a supremacist type ideology, and it would negate even the rights of the communist leaders, and they would be violent against them. So I think that's where the problem lies. All right, we're heading out. We're almost done. Who just read? Was it Sharon?
I think so. I could take this one on mine.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, okay.
All right. The selling and buying of a blind person are not valid. He must commission another to buy and sell for him. A, though the Hanafi, Maliki, and Hanbali schools permit him to buy and sell for himself, it is valid for a blind person to buy in advance, or for another to buy in advance from him, provided the payment is forwarded to and held by the person being bought from in advance. Oh, bought from, not bought. My apologies. All right.
I found this funny because it's saying the blind person is probably going to be scammed, and this is a low expectation of the morality of their people. It's valid for a blind person to buy in advance, all right, but you're not going to let it up on the top. It says selling and buying of a blind person are not valid. He must commission another to buy and sell for him. They don't trust the blind guy. They don't trust the people selling to the blind guy. What's going on here?
I have to question though, could be the other way. Are you buying or selling a blind person?
Yeah, that was just me misreading it. My bad. It was like you're talking about the very end?
Good point.
You know what? You might be right. Let me just take
Oh,
a
my
quick
bad.
look.
Okay.
That's not a bad concept to double check. All right. No, they're actually talking about a power of attorney type concept on that page. Let me just see this page. No, it's not permissible to buy. Oh, no, she's right. It's not permissible to buy or sell a blind person. Wow. Darcy
Crazy.
was right.
Oops. Sorry, I'm laughing.
Wow. So you can't sell a blind slave. Wait a minute. Is that what they're really intending? It's just like, yeah, that just makes you think. I don't know. Maybe they're
That's
just
how
saying it wrong.
sneaky Islam can be.
When I read the rest of this, it sounds like they're talking about they're not talking about a slave. It must commission another to buy and sell for him. Well, they were just talking about a surrogate like person to buy for him. And that's what this little bit of Arabic is about. So I think the wording is extremely bad. That selling and buying of a blind person is exactly word for word in Arabic. All right. But they follow through. So this is really confusing. Again, it's bad Arabic. It's bad English. Ugh.
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
these guys would know more than a lawyer.
Mm,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
We're supposed to be
just a shot in the dark. Maybe.
nitpicky on like, yeah, these guys have their doctorates in Sharia and they can't write very legibly. I mean, they can't write well. I mean, if I was going to write this into English to try and explain a point, yeah, you try and be accurate, but at the same time, what are they selling? What are they saying when they're talking about selling and buying of a blind person is not valid? And now you're talking about, well, he has to have someone to buy and sell for him. That's communicating two different things. The question is, are they really communicating two different things, or are they just talking about how it's difficult for a blind person to buy and sell? Wow. Considering they believe in slavery, this both their possibles here. Boy. All right. Now we're getting into usury. And I think we only have a few more. Yep. We only 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, these are the last 4 slides. All right. I'm gonna pick on Sharon first. Are you there, Sharon?
Oops, I forgot to turn my mic on. Usurious gain. The word riba lexically means increment. In sacred law, it is of 2 types. The first being usurious gain in selling, which is an agreement for a specific recompense whose equivalence to the merchandise is unknown, according to the standards of the law at the time of the transaction, or in which the exchange of the 2 properties transacted is delayed, or one of them is delayed. The second type concerns loans and consists of any loan by which the lender obtains some benefit. The basis for its unlawfulness prior to scholarly consensus is such Quranic verses as Allah permits trade but forbids usurious gain. Quran 2, chapter 2, verse 275.
That's that same verse we looked at. Now, here's Allah's problem. Usurious gain. Okay, if we're just talking about the word interest, what about fees for loans instead of interest? And you charge more than you would make when you're giving a fee. See, with interest, if this is the thing, I take a loan out. Let's say I use my credit card. I say I make a deal. I will pay so much interest if I pay next month and the month after that and the month after that. But I steal in some sense. So what I do is I pay it off by the end of the month, almost every time. Oh, if I do that, I'm not paying any interest. Oh, would that mean I'm Sharia compliant if I'm doing that? That's yeah. Darcy, you're cracking me up. Arriba, arriba. Oh, I just remember a little mouse saying that. Oh my gosh. Speedy Gonzalez. That's all I can think of. All right. Let's keep going here. All right. Going on. Darcy, can you read this one, please?
Fear Allah and relinquish what remains of usury if you are believers, which is Quran 2:278, and such hadiths as that related by Muslim, the Messenger of Allah cursed whoever eats of usurious gain or riba, feeds another with it, writes an agreement involving it, or acts as a witness to it. Another hadith in al-Mustarak by Hakim relates that the Prophet said, usurious gain is of 70 kinds, the least of which is as a mother, or as a man marrying his mother.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I think of somebody who's worse than this is the guy who jumped into the grave and had sex with his dead aunt. I'll let his name be quiet, but yeah, it's in the hadith. It's actually in the hadith, and the guy's first name starts with Q and ends with M, his real first name, that the Quran doesn't know.
But he was only trying to comfort her, you know.
But she was dead. That's not what the Quran description is, too vivid. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to pick on you again. Sharon, can you look up W43?
Yeah, hold on.
See what it discusses in taking interest in enemy lands.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, wait, no, you actually just read it. They can appear.
42.
Oh, that was 42. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, what do you want me to read on 43? Oh, 43.
It's
many pages.
It's if you see anything that says Darl Harbor enemy lands, if you see something, I should have gone back and looked at that. All right.
Well,
so W43 says it's so, it's basically saying follow Darura.
The whole title of W43 is dealing in interest in enemy lands, Darl Harb.
Oh.
So it's and it's many pages.
Okay, so that is one of the sections we're definitely going to cover. I'll put that into next week probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's many pages.
All right, we're going to try and finish this up. All right, Nico, can you read K3.1, please?
Okay, I'm just ironically I did a live on Trading Places, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, and yeah, the stockbrokers are introducing the character Eddie Murphy plays to how the trading goes, and they're sitting at the office, and in front of them they got commodities, they got the orange juice, they got pork bellies, and they've got a gold brick, and they're all on plates, on different plates. And Eddie Murphy sits down and he goes, "Oh, breakfast, thank you. I already had some though." So I don't know. Usurious gain and sales of foodstuffs, gold, and silver. My three favorite things. All right, K3.1. Gain is not unlawful except in certain exchanges involving O, human, foodstuffs, gold and silver, or A or N or other money, N, which is the ruling for usurious gain and sales.
Keep going.
Okay, as for usurious gain or interest from loans, it is unlawful for any type of property whatever. The determining factor in the prohibition of usurious gain and foodstuffs is their being edible, and in gold and silver there being the value of things. Woo, glad we cleared that up. When a foodstuff is sold for a foodstuff of the same kind, such as wheat exchanged for wheat, or when gold is traded for gold, three conditions are obligatory. A, exact equivalence in amount, or O, which
Let
must
me
be,
ask you this now.
yeah.
I just want you to think about this. Why would you exchange 3 gold coins for 3 gold coins? Or let's say 3 silver coins for 3 silver coins. I mean, I kind of get, okay, I'm exchanging in the American quarter and I'm getting 2 dimes and a nickel. But they're talking about gold, they're talking about silver. It just makes you kind of wonder.
Maybe they're thinking about doing the trade with a blind or deaf person or mute person. They can't complain.
Oh yeah, here's 3 silver coins, and you gave them 3 pieces of copper. yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't. Yeah, that could have been the con job. All right, this is the end. Again, if you're looking to support what my ministry is doing, pick up one of these books. You can find them on Amazon or other places now. My first purchases for my new books, 1 Corinthians and Hebrews, were in Germany. It was out of Germany. So I'm reaching people in Germany somehow. So that's kind of exciting. And then there's going to be the next 2. There'll be 2 volumes of Genesis, and there's going to be 2 volumes of Exodus because they're too long. So those are now at the publisher, and we're waiting to see that finish up. Now, I only have a little while, so I want to ask how many people actually know. Does anyone know what's common between the stabber in Southport, UK, and the shooter of Trump? Does anybody know what the common thing is?
Is it both crazy? I don't know.
Supposedly, they both have a form of autism. I have a problem with this. There are certain, this is, I have family members with what I believe is the form of autism that they're referring to. And I'm also have real difficulties with some of the things that have been portrayed in both cases. The guy who is in Southport, there are people who actually witnessed his presence there. That there's somebody there who actually helped capture him. That lived through it. The 10 people who were stabbed, besides the 3 little girls, there are adults that were stabbed by this 17-year-old. I have real difficulty seeing this as I can get maybe one person. It's the idea that there's 10, and there's a claim that this guy comes from a Christian background. I have a lot of difficulties with this claim. I don't know. I mean, psycho maybe, but there's too many problems with this whole statement. Could this person have become what Muslims call a revert? Was there some kind of influence going on here? It just makes you ask a lot of questions. I'm still trying to stay up on it all. But how is it that in a short period of time, within 1 month, a shooter in the United States is said to have a form of autism, and a stabber in the UK who stabs 13 people, 3 of them dead, has possibly the same form of autism? How is that? I
doubt it. I think it's a sleeper agent, and they're awakening. Conspiracy theories that I am.
I just have serious issues with this now. The new stuff on the Trump guy, the guy who did the shooting. There has been evidence that Iran and possibly China is involved with the planning of the attempt on Trump's life. There's questions on if that's there. Now, again, I think the two people involved, this doesn't make sense to me. I'm just someone who, I don't like it when there are coincidences that you can't easily explain or see. I always think that when you get something like that, it's telling you to pay attention and wait for more information. Be very concerned when they're not telling us the whole truth. And this is what Congress has been doing with the Secret Service, saying, why aren't you giving us information? Yeah. Be very, very cautious. Be listening, people, for our own protection. Be very, very cautious. I'm going to encourage people this week to try something. Go to your Facebook groups, and I'd love to have people report back their success if this works for them. I found it works, and I'm crediting this panel for us discovering it. It was either last week or the week before where we discovered where we were talking about how Muslims are not allowed to take a vow when they're lying, a conditional vow using the name of Allah. So when Muslims are lying to me, I say, will you vow that if I am lying, Allah should take my life and the life of my family? All of a sudden, I get crickets. Oh. So I'd love to hear other people's response to that, because, and come back to me, I think it's an interesting statement. Can we make Muslims stop lying to us? I mean, if we can do that, we've achieved something through knowledge of their material, through knowledge of Sharia. Oh, and what's funny about this is Muslims know more about Sharia than they know their Quran. It's sad.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. Wait, if you do this, listeners, screenshot it.
Oh,
and send it to Paul or one of us.
Yes.
So.
Oh, we'll have some. We'll put it up. We'll talk about it. I say do it. I'd like the evidence, because, I think it would be a great research paper. More people that do it, great. I'm hoping to. I'm excited about this. This is something we've discovered. If we can change the world through little steps, little things, I'm all excited. Let's change the world. If we can get people to stop lying, doing this one simple thing to protect Islam, what would happen? Would Sheikh Ibn Footnote have problems if he knows Sharia that well? This could be funny. I mean, we've got to put this to the test. Anybody who knows someone doing debating, get this one out there. I'm going to have to propose this to Adam Seeker. I'm going to have to ask him to try it and see what happens. God bless everybody. I want to say thank you all for being here. Any last words, Sharon? You go first.
No, except thank you. Thank you, Paul, for doing what you do.
Darcy.
I got 2 prayer requests, one for Japan and then one for the East Coast from the hurricane effects. Japan had a 7.1 earthquake, and there might be a mega quake coming, so please keep them in prayer.
Well, I didn't realize they had that. I have to take a look. Wow. It's hoping there's no awakening of volcanoes in that area. That's scary. Nico, go ahead.
Thank you. I've got a lot to say, but I won't say it. I want to. Thank you for all y'all that you do, and I would also like to add prayer request. Thank you for that idea. It's a great idea. for those in the UK right now. I think the world is watching. I think this is something that many of us have been expecting for a while, and I believe it's a turning point in world history. So let's pray for all those involved, that God guides them, that they don't lose their sight, they keep their noose praying unceasingly to the very end. That's it. I'll leave it at that.
I'm been paying real close attention to what's happening in the UK for two reasons. One, I was asked to do it. I'd seen little bits on it, and the more information I gathered, I have more questions after the more I gathered. What people in the UK are now being told, if they share information on this, they're going to jail. They are now arresting people who post information on what happened in Southport. They are now arresting people. They're going to their houses. If you say anything negative about the immigrants, they're actually arresting you, putting you on trial, and arresting you if you live in the UK. There is no such thing as freedom of speech in other countries. We have to realize this as Americans. We have to fight for this gold. The poor UK, Brits, my family, distant family members, distant, thank God my family's been here for 400 years, that we are not that stupid to give up our guns. Oh, guess what they did in the UK? Guess what they did in New Zealand? Guess what they did in Australia? What don't they have? Freedom of speech. Canadians didn't give up their guns. They just became socialists. They didn't fight for anything.
I actually have a friend, I've messaged, she's from Texas, but she's married to an Australian. They can only have bats in their houses. It's just, that doesn't help at all.
Yeah, it's
I want to
frustrating.
request, please keep Dominic, or Brother Dominic, in prayer, because he's in London. And I haven't seen anything from him for like a week now.
He might be scared to use any social media. Unless because he's communicating with Americans, and oh my gosh, there's so much he might be in jail. I don't know. Yeah, so keep Brother Dominic in prayer. Let's do that. Let's do that right now before we go. Let's pray for these groups. Lord Jesus, Lord, we come to you knowing that you do the impossible things, Lord. You do wondrous, impossible things, Lord. We ask that you would reveal the truth about what actually happened in this dance studio, Lord. That you would take the wool off everybody's eyes, keep the media from hiding things, Lord. That you would reveal exactly what happened in this situation. Lord, if this person is not who they're claiming, Lord, I ask, Lord, that you would open that door and let the floodgates just pour out for the truth to come. Lord, we ask that you would protect the Christians and the Europeans there in their countries over there in Europe, Lord, that you would stand up with them, just watch over them, send your angels, Lord. We ask, Lord, that you would also protect the Muslims that are there. What am I asking? Lord, I'm asking that you protect them so they won't kill each other. Because if they're not killing or going after us, Lord, they're going after each other. It's part of their faith structure. It's horrible. Lord, just pray for them, Lord, that they also would be safe. Lord, that there would be peace. Lord, we pray for Japan, Lord, that you would help those who have gone through this hurricane, Lord, the earthquake, Lord, that they would survive. Lord, that they would be able to stand tall and hug their family again, Lord. Lord, I pray for those on the East Coast, Lord, where this hurricane is going to be coming up and touching it, Lord, that you would keep each member safe, Lord, that they could hold their family and feel safe, Lord, that none of them would be foolish enough to say, I can weather the storm, or that they would seek shelter and be wise about that. Lord, we pray for Israel's peace, Lord. That's paramount, Lord. We ask that you would be with them, Lord, and help them finish this battle that they must finish, Lord, and give them the wisdom on what to do next. Prepare them, Lord, for that next step. Have the right people in place, the right people to be ready to take on what's next, Lord, as they finish up. In your name, Lord Jesus, amen. All right, we are moving on. God bless everybody. You all have a great weekend. Please share out this show. You never know. Sometimes sharing something like this is outstanding. And I don't want to, I guess we're going to end this way tonight. I have something I absolutely have to do afterwards. So unfortunately, I don't get to show our last favorite 10 minutes. God bless you all. Thank you.
Yep, God bless. Thank you, Paul.
All right.
God bless you, everybody. God bless everyone.
Thank
Oh,
you,
this
God
is all right. I'm hitting the end stream button and